to Lyte Talks. My name is Nakima Lyte, licensed clinical social worker, but you know that, right? And I am so glad that you tuned in. Today, we are going to get right into it. I hope you watched the previous video, The Pursuit of Eliminating Hurry, because today I'm going to be talking about how we're going to do that. Maximizing your moments. So we have the understanding of why hurry or why the culture of hustle has become harmful to our lives. I mean, besides the low grade level of anxiety we're in, besides the inability to love our neighbor like ourselves, we just can't look like and live like Jesus if we're constantly in a hurry. He walked this earth and his pace, my God, his pace was the pace of heaven. He was always on assignment. He was always walking in the will of God, but yet he was never in a hurry. I don't know about you, but I want to look like Jesus. So how do I maximize every moment? Before we get there, let's talk more about the problem. Because hurry and hustle, if you're like me, a millennial chick with a career and involved in ministry, hurry and hustle has been the air I breathe for as long as I live. I don't know any other way. So it's important for me to be able to take an inventory and separate or discern aspects of my life that have been invaded or assaulted by the culture of hurry. The first thing that I want to look at is how it's been celebrated, right? There's a level of acknowledgement or there's a level of praise we get from hashtag grind, hashtag no sleep, hashtag hurry, hustle, all of these things that it's wonderful to be able to have 7 streams of income. It's wonderful to be able to be successful or prosperous, not only financially, but within status. Yet, what are the costs that have gone unnoticed or unattended to? Our souls are operating at this level of hyper speed that we've never been intended to do. And yet we're going more, we're going harder, we're going for longer, and our emotional and mental health is in shambles. And I'm speaking as a generation, I'm speaking as a nation. The need for mental health services, I'm grateful for the awareness, but what the awareness has brought is that so many of us are struggling in our mental and emotional health. So some ways we can eliminate or eradicate that struggle is looking at what's under that. Are we all just hamsters on that wheel spinning with hustle on our mind? I used to think that if I just got on a beach, if I just made my way, damn you, COVID, but if I just made my way to Jamaica in the sun, my vacation would give me that rest and rejuvenation that I needed. And vacations are great, and I'm hoping that I can get one this year. But what God started to minister to me instead was, you need to eliminate hurry from your life. You need to eliminate hurry from sucking dry your joy, your peace, your ability to have rest in me. So make sure that you take that vacation, but also make sure that you're maximizing your moments and living a life free from divorcing hurry and hustle. So I'm going to talk about what you need to maximize your moments. Number 1 is rest. I hear people say all the time, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'll rest when I'm dead because there's so much to do. First of all, unhealthy, okay? There's maladaptive cognition in there somewhere. Jesus healed, Jesus rose people from the dead, and Jesus fed people. But he didn't raise every dead person. He didn't heal every sick person. But just looking at the fabric of creation, rest was literally woven into that fabric. Rest is something that God gave us an illustration from the very beginning. Let's look at Genesis chapter 2, verses 2 and verse 3. And on the 7th day, God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which he had created and made. God gives us the illustration of rest. On each and every day of creation, 6 days, he created, he spoke, he created, he spoke, he created. And on the seventh day, he could have continued. But he gave us this illustration and said, there is more beauty, more depth, more efficiency in being able to create and then being able to rest and appreciate and take in what has been created. You know, if you're like me, I used to think Sabbath rest was something of the Old Testament and not relevant to me. But I'm understanding that the rest and Sabbath of God has been created for me to be able to be more efficient, to be more productive, to be more effective in the things that I do and the things that I create. Number 2 is silence and solitude. Now, I do not mean a day to watch Netflix or do your nails. That is absolutely valid, but that's not what I'm talking about. Silence and solitude is a spiritual practice that gives us the opportunity to have our soul restored and rejuvenated. Silence is actually that, silence. So I don't mean with lo-fi on, and I don't mean with the sermon on in the background. Silence. You know, we become literally anxious in a space of quiet or silence. It's not something that we're used to in this generation, but yet there's things that your soul wants to say to God. And there's things that God wants to say to your soul, which will be provided in the silence. So there's an external silence, which is shutting down your notifications, making sure your environment physically is quiet or silent. But then there's also the internal practice of silence, right? Where we are resting from our thoughts, when we're learning how to be able to focus on the mind of God. Much more difficult, but yet, like I said, it's a practice. So start small, start 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I want to be able to get to 30, right? I'm working on it. But you would be able to pass through the restlessness or the anxiety of being in a silent place, in a silent time. And you might realize that all these emotions flood to the surface. They've been there all along, don't get me wrong, but they haven't had the opportunity to be attended to. So that's the importance of silence. And solitude, they go hand in hand together, like husband and wife. Solitude is literally looking at the placement to have that silence, a place of solitude, a secluded or an isolated place. We see so many examples in scriptures where Jesus would go to a place just like this to be with the Father. Let's read one example from Mark chapter 1, verses 35. And in the morning, rising up a great while before day, he went out and departed into a solitary place and there prayed. That's the man of great example. Jesus got up early in the morning, early before things, the hustle and bustle. I don't know, maybe he got a cup of coffee and sat there with his scriptures, and he went there to pray. He went there to commune and talk with God. So silence and solitude is so important. Whether you do that morning, afternoon, or evening, that has to be up to you in your schedule and the rhythms of your life. But we see the example in scripture. If we're always focused on addition in our Christian faith, like I'm going to add on this Bible study, I'm going to add on this prayer call, I'm going to add on a fourth service to my ministry, we negate the fact that Jesus practiced addition as well as subtraction. Subtraction is, I'm going to withdraw, I'm going to fast, I'm going to take a moment for silence and solitude. And these are the things that balance our lives. We need to have balance. Number 3 is rhythms. Now, we all have rhythms already, which might also be called formations or routines, the things that we do day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year that guide our lives. But I want us to think about and plan and be a little bit more intentional with the rhythms or the routines that would be able to eliminate hurry from our lives. For example, in my home, we have rhythms about how we use social media or how much screen time we're engaging in because we're being proactive instead of reactive. With the onslaught of so much information coming our way, we realize the impact that it's had on our relationships, on our ability to connect, on our intimacy. Some other rhythms that we might have is what day of the week we do family devotion, or even like with our phones. Like, my goodness, I can speak in another video, and I may, about how we've become addicted to those things, right? But in our home, we parent our phones. So that means that it doesn't go to bed with us. We put it to bed at 10 o'clock. We wake it up in the morning. It doesn't wake us up. And that way we have the ability to have more intimate connections, even with people in our home. You know, if you've come by our house, that if we're having fellowship, there's a phone grave. Nobody can use their phone because we want to be able to be present and in the moment. But those are a couple rhythms that work for us. Set up a time to speak with your family, speak with your friends. What are the rhythms that you want to put in place to make sure that you are practicing rest, practicing silence, practicing solitude, eliminating hurry, eliminating hustle, and the mindsets that keep us so glued to the things of this world? My prayer is that God would guide you and strengthen you in that journey. It is not easy, but it is not about perfection at that moment. It's progression. And I've seen day to day, week to week, that God has been able to transform my household, my life, my relationships, so that we can be more restful, more productive, more efficient. I want to share with you this last thought. The Father shared with me how when Jesus had sent the disciples out to go on the water, and they eventually like met this huge storm, and they were rowing and rowing and rowing, and Jesus said, "I'm going to meet you on the other side." What he did was go to the mountain and withdrew and went to be with the Father. Yet Jesus met them on the water. And they were like, "Woo, a ghost!" Yeah. It's super amazing to read in the Gospels. But what the Father revealed to me in that is, while they were rowing, Jesus was walking. And he said to me, "Nikema, when you eliminate hurry from your life, I will allow you to walk while others are rowing. I will allow you to walk and stand on what others sink in." So if you believe that holding on to hurry or holding on to hustle would make you more successful, I'm here to tell you that it won't. God will allow you to be a water walker if you're able to keep him first, keeping your eyes on him first and letting him guide your life. Make sure to look down below in the description box. I want to provide for you more resources on this topic: podcasts, authors, speakers, books. There's so much information that I want to be able to provide for you. And I'm asking for you to like this video. It helps me so much, and share it with someone, and subscribe if you haven't already. I love you so much. Go forth and